Hey, this is Devin Townsend from Strapping Young Lad, and you are listening to What's Metal. Rock on.
Thank you. So, you have a new album out with Strapping Young Lad called Alien. So, what's so alienating about this new record?
I think to a certain extent in the writing of it, I was having a really crazy year, and so I tried to express that feeling of excess I felt emotionally on the record. And as a result of that, I ended up feeling really strange, you know? And the that resulting sort of dark, cold feeling I got from doing that music ended up in a real alien frame of mind. And so that's why it was called that.
It's not a concept album in a certain way. So.
Not really. I mean, it's like there's nothing we're trying to get across that you can't understand just from listening to it. Like, it's just wah music, right? But in terms of a concept or anything, it's just maybe the only concept is that I'm confused.
That's a statement.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Like, I mean, you know, like the last thing I want this record to be is like, you know, this is what we think, this is what I think. It's like, it's just questions. It's just like, why? And then ways of trying to answer those things. It either ends up in anger or fear or bitterness or any of these things. But by the end of the record, it comes around to you just can't understand. So just...
Maybe you can say the approach to get into the songwriting process. Was there something different compared to the last LP?
Yeah, the last LP was the band. We all kind of contributed in that way. But on this one, it was Gene and I. And I mean, I had kind of the original vision when I was on tour. And then Gene and I just collaborated to make the music. And then I just took it back to my studio and did crazy stuff after we had all recorded the guitars and bass. So,
interesting point for me is how do you differ between songwriting for Strapping Young Lad and songwriting for your Devin Townsend band? Where do you draw the line? Or is it when you write stuff, okay, this can fit into that Devin Townsend box and this in the other one?
Yeah, I mean, it's like if I spend too much time going, okay, now strapping time, you know, then it just, nothing happens as natural. And if I say, okay, now, even though I'm angry, love, happiness, bunny rabbits, it just comes out like, love, happiness, bunny rabbits, right? So as a result of that, I just want to take whatever I'm in and say, well, this note seems to illustrate this headspace for me. Or this song seems to characterize that particular emotion, right? So just put it wherever that form lies. And, you know, for the aggressive, fearful stuff, you've got strapping. For the more passionate, you know, comfortable stuff, I've got DTB. And I've also got ambient projects and productions and everything, right? It's like, I'd like to say two sides of the same coin, but it's like 6 sides of a Dungeons and Dragons dice.
Devin Townsend is always seen in the media as this hyperactive rockaholic who has its fingers everywhere. So how do you see yourself? How would you characterize yourself?
Yeah, kinda. But the only reason I've really been trying to go for it is so I can, you know, make a living, right? Like, I have so much music, it's like I either put it out or I just do nothing with it. So I put it out, but now I just find that I've had so much music that I don't want to flood the market. So I'm just going to keep Devin Townsend Band, Strapping Young Lad, and any of the other stuff, the puppet show, the ambient records, the crazy records, just on my website. You can get them there.
So where does Devin Townsend get his influences? Is it all in your head, or are there any factors out there who can have an input on you?
Turn on the news, man. It's like war, death, rape, kill, hell, bombing, pain. And it's like, I just can't deal with it a lot of the times. And my response to that is, wah! As either a defense mechanism or whatever. But it's like how I find myself responding to it. It's just so much anxiety, right?
Okay, this negative approach is maybe the Strapping Young Lad output. And are there any positive things in life that you maybe transfer into a Devin Townsend band? Or?
Yeah, but there's also positive things in strapping, you know, on some level. You know, like it's harsh, but there's, you know, I learned a lesson during Alien. And it was like, that lesson is positive, right? Finding that excess and then realizing that I couldn't handle it was a good thing for me on some level. But for the Devin Townsend band, it's just like, after I do this, I feel other things. And so I make my mind feel better with that stuff.
So your music is maybe, I would say, very hard and aggressive on the first view. but also very versatile on the second.
Yeah, it's like the acoustic song on this record is to remind, that it's like not all that. There is another side to it.
Yeah, that's obvious that you incorporate a lot of stuff into your music. Yeah. Is there any boundary where you say, okay, that's the point, I can incorporate that stuff?
Just personal boundaries, and this record was an exercise in finding those. Yeah, it was like before this, I went into it going limitless, 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 and then when I found that it's just like at the end of the info dump, at the end of the record, it's just like, I can't take this, and that's why the kids like at the end of the record, because it's just like too much. And then once I found that, it was like, oh, okay. Now I don't feel the need as much to go there, right? Now I can, if I do strapping, it'll be different than this record. And if I do DTB, it'll be different as a result of having done this record. And I think ultimately that was the goal for me, is to get to point B, I needed to complete point A.
So what input do your bandmates have finally?
Well, everybody, me and Gene are, the guitar and drums, like Metallica and any of these bands, they're just like, the guitar and drums in the early days is how it was, right? And Jed and Byron contribute, but they were away from town. They were like, Byron was out with Fear Factory and Jed was in the States. So it was basically Gene and I with the music. And then, whatever else lyrically or whatever, I just sort of took from there.
So our show is called What's Metal? So we have a standard question, of course. What is metal for you? Music, lifestyle, maybe more?
Headspace. I think that's what it is. Your headspace is metal. And, the lifestyle I don't even think is that important. It's just how you perceive your environment that makes you respond in a certain way. And that way a lot of the times is metal.
Final question, your near future plans? Festivals, live shows, any other thing?
Yeah, I have productions, live shows, get to Europe, Devin Townsend band, ambient records. Like everything's kind of on the go right now. So I think it'll be another busy year.
Where do we see Devin Townsend on stage here in Germany next time?
Hopefully by the end of the summer. Yeah, that's what we're hoping.
It's a headlining tour, or do you play any festivals also?
We're trying to maybe mix a club tour with some headlining or some headlining shows at clubs with some festival dates. So we'll see how that progresses in the next couple of months.